Cultural diversity. We are in a time whereby many countries and nations unite in different things, whether it's business, whether it's networking, whether it's relationships, whether it's education. And the thing is, due to what we've watched and listened to by the types of media we've consumed, we can end up creating biases that aren't really what they seem to be. For example, you could be told someone from this country or nation or community they behave in some type of way, and then you pick all of them collectively and say this sample represents everybody, but that's a lie because everyone is different. Yes, you will encounter some who may fall under the bias and others who totally are very different. And the more you learn to be humble enough to want to understand a culture, then the biases leave the door and you get now to be more open to understand, oh wait, I was told ABCD, and the more open and comfortable you are with the person from the other side, you start discussing the biases. What do people say about people from my country or my community? And they say ABCD. And in my end, they say ABCD. But do you agree? Someone will say yes or no. And when you start to understand that, you start to realize there are so many things that have been placed among us to divide us, but there are so many things that are lies and there are things that are true. Based on how we've been raised, communities, ethnicities, races, there are things that we do that build up the culture to where we are. And that changes a lot of how we choose to perceive, act, and interact with one another. You can have a situation where people from a particular country or nation or race are known to do a particular thing that is quite offensive. Does that then mean you cluster everybody or take one and say, or 10 or 5, and say this is a sample representation of everyone? I choose to disagree. Why? Because just because you have 10 people misbehaving doesn't mean the 11th person is like them. The 11th person may be trying to correct the behavior of the 10. They may not be the loudest as the 10, but they're trying to make effort and gain traction to try and repair the bad name that has been sent there. But how then are you able to get the 11th person when you take everyone and put them in one area collectively? Until you're open enough to be able to say, fine, they say this about these people, they say this about this race, they say this about this ethnicity. What if I humble myself and want to have an interest, whether it's to learn, have a common thing? One common thing could be food, for example. Not like the food could be the same, but say, let me try the food from that end and let me go there and enjoy. Or let's say that area they have good nature, trails, or places for hiking. You say, I'm going to this place. Let me see if I can find someone from that area to show me around. And the more you start interacting with the people, you realize most of these biases either are created because someone felt inferior or someone felt they're better or more entitled, and they created a bias. And because nobody questioned the biasness, we end up stereotyping one another when in all sense nothing about it all was ever true. It was just one or two or 10 individuals who didn't get what they want and created a bias that led to a lot of stereotyping, that now you start to realize they say everybody is like this, and you realize, nope. And that's why I'm always open to learning different cultures, because at the end of the day, you get to learn so much. There are things you have the other person doesn't have. The things your country may have endured the other person hasn't. And that's it becomes very sad when people say, look at this government of these people. The people are like their government, but there is a separation. There is a separation many times between the state and the people, because sometimes the state may have gotten their way of power through dubious methods, whether they've rigged their way through it, or maybe they go through an election, but their character doesn't represent everyone. For example, let's look at an ambassador, any random ambassador. They're given a floor where there are other ambassadors of other nations, and then they utter any utterances either towards a particular nation or generally. The perception in the room is this individual represents country A or country B. So that means everybody from country A and country B agrees. But this is the twist. Many people don't even know who the ambassador is, even in most of the countries. You hear, oh, we have an ambassador. What's their name? You don't know. Where's their embassy? You don't know. Does that mean then everybody should be judged by the character of that ambassador and the utterances? We see it with presidents. They go saying stuff that leave everyone scratching their head like, no, that is not for us. But because they are a representation of a country or a nation, then people say that's what everybody's thinking. But that's a lie. We have other situations whereby the leader is so authoritarian, an authoritarian kind of a leader, that the people are so suppressed that they can't say anything. And then they invite particular media people to give a particular perception, either to draw in tourism or anything, while yet their people are being suppressed. And then they give them narrative. We see this a lot with many travel content creators, where they're paid by particular countries and embassies to go and give a particular narrative that everything here is okay. But when the local does a simple video and shares, you realize, hold up, that content creator said ABCD, but I'm having the actual information as it is. So where I went wrong? Because it is easy to buy in. The content creator wants to sort their bills. Ethically, very few have ethical or moral standards. They have the face. For example, a good example is even in our country. We have many influencers, right? And what's the one thing they'll promote? Betting, gambling, precisely. Does gambling help the youth or the people of that country? No. It only makes them addicted and they're destroyed. Does that then mean that this content creator is a representation of the country? No. It's that person's immoral character or an ethical way of reasoning. Their greed for the money makes them lower their standard of thinking about it from the context. If these are my followers and I'm dragging down them the mud of feeding them the life of gambling, the addiction of gambling, I am destroying my own people who, if I wasn't going that path, I could have found opportunities and investors who could have invested in my people. It's part of your community. Let's look at our mainstream media houses. What do? Same thing. They have slots whereby they put a lot of gambling. Okay. And most of the time is family time. So what are you telling the 3-5-year-old? Oh, gambling is good. They'll put the people who are winning the stakes and everything. But in all honesty, gambling is like playing gambling casino, whichever you choose to look at it. The house always wins. Whoever created the system wins. It doesn't matter if you choose to use some chatbots. The fact is, house always wins. Yes, you may have your good winners. First round, second round, third round. Your fourth round, you'll be cooked. And once you're cooked, you're cooked. There is no going back. So, holding people accountable for their words and their action is very important. At the same time, being able to look back and take a push back and ask yourself, am I being honest by how I perceive a particular person or someone from a particular race or community? Does one person then represent every single person? No. It's like being in a family. You can be in a family where everyone is toxic, but they're the one who's not toxic. Should we then cluster you as being toxic, yet you are the black sheep in that family? I think it's very important when people choose to be have a moment of looking back and say, hey, let's not cluster everyone based on the decisions made by a government or a leader or a politician, and then say this community then means this. Because once we go down that path, we start creating ideologies and biases, and then it leads to conflicts that should never even have been thought of in the very beginning. As much as we're different, As much as we have all these different cultures, at the end of the day, let it not be destroyed because of the biases and the stereotypical mindset created by those in power. We are better than that. We are more united if we are open enough to see beyond the veil.